Welcome back to another episode of It Matters. I'm joined today with Sam Zaydel, Senior Product Manager, as well as the author of Constantly Seeking. And today we're going to talk about big data storage and NoSQL databases. All over the place, I see the rise of all these NoSQL databases and key value stores. Tell me what their big place is in the ecosystem and their contrast to typical databases.
A lot of these databases are actually outstanding for storing information that is very loosely related. At some point, we thought relational databases were really all we needed because all the information out there we thought had some relationships between each other. We know we're in this world of information overload, where you might have a particular piece of information that has a million data points. This is what these databases are all about. They allow us to store massive amounts of records, and we don't necessarily have to have a schema.
Basically, it sets the stage in the fact that you don't have to kind of develop how everything's going to look ahead of time, so you can handle the unintended or unknown earlier than having to figure out everything in advance and plan ahead.
So I think that's where it really shines. I think a lot of times nowadays we develop applications and it's very difficult to really predict how that application is going to mature and grow. At some point, we were able to really develop a schema, and everything had to meet that schema. No longer is that the case.
So the NoSQL tie to big data, in your mind, comes from what exactly?
Data is very messy. We never really know much about the information with which we're working, and so the idea is we should be able to take massive amounts of information, throw it into something, and actually be able to make sense of it.
Right. Okay. And so how are we using NoSQL databases within our data ecosystem today?
There are actually a few places. One place in particular where I think we're going to be seeing it more and more is within our appliance, where we've got all this massive information. We've got data that we actually don't necessarily know what to do with today. However, it's valuable. It's extremely valuable information, and so we're trying to stash away as much of it as possible so that we can use that knowledge, that information, to benefit our customer.
Okay, great. And so is there a big difference between the different technologies? You know, I've heard of different NoSQL databases from MongoDB to CouchDB, all these NoSQL databases. What is the big difference between the different either brands or vendors within these NoSQL databases?
Some of them are really designed to store massive amounts of information, such as movies, such as large files. Others really target storing data documents. One of the big differences, I think, some are meant to be distributed by nature and some aren't.
Right, and so that's a big difference between the traditional SQL database and these NoSQL databases, is the distributed nature of it as well.
Yeah, and I think the one real key is ACID. And ACID with something like SQL, well, SQL in general, is pretty much, it's almost impossible to assure in a distributed system, because in a distributed system, there's no possibility of being able to be entirely consistent if there's a data partition, if there's a partition in the network between nodes.
Great. Well, thanks a lot for giving us a kind of a data dump on NoSQL databases and big data. I'm Jonathan Halstutch. I'm here with Sam Zaydel. Thanks for joining us with another It Matters. For more information on our autonomous data ecosystem and how we're using NoSQL databases, check out www.racktopsystems.com. Thanks.